Welcome back to Sunrise. As we continue this morning, of course, we already mentioned that with only just 4 seats in Parliament, the Freedom Front Plus launched their election manifesto for the upcoming local government elections this month. And Freedom Front Plus says that their main focus come the 3rd of August is to highlight the cases of poor service delivery, economy and bad governance. Now, to talk more about their manifesto, we are joined in studio by the leader of the Freedom Front Plus, Dr. Peter Muller, who you already met earlier on, of course, chatting to us when Faith was trying to get him to agree with her on that sugary stuff. We're trying to get you to be part of the conversation by giving us a call on 011-447-1742 or 447-2570. And we're also taking your comments on our Facebook as well as Twitter pages. Dr. Mulder, thanks for joining us this morning. We've just been chatting, actually, me and you, of air. Excuse me. I didn't realize how long this campaign for the 3rd of August has been. Sure. And you mentioned that. Are you guys ready for the 3rd of August? And how have you been preparing yourself as a Freedom Front Plus?
Well, technically we were ready in December already, because remember, the government can announce the date, so they've got that sort of position. So you must be ready anytime. And normally then there's a 100-yard sprint. Once they announce the date, they're ready, but you must be ready. So we were ready in December already. Then January came. Then it was sort of, when will the date be announced? Then all the court cases. And now it's postponed until the 3rd of August. I think it's the longest campaign we ever had. And your big problem is trying to 100 yards, but it becomes a marathon. And that's what we're busy at the moment, and to keep it on the peak all the time. Okay,
so now going into the different communities and trying to entrench some of your ideologies and positions as a political party, how has that been going?
It's been going quite well, because it's quite fascinating. It's so fluid at the moment. Nobody knows exactly, and it changes from day to day. So we got very good reaction up to now. But you can never know. In the end, that's people can vote and they decide on their own. You can give them your opinion, you can give them your facts, and hopefully they'll decide in the end of the day. And it's been going quite well, because a lot of people are frustrated with service delivery. And surely as an opposition party, you use that and you start from there and say, we can improve it. And then the question is how, and you must convert first from there on.
So we're going to try and get to that how. In terms of, you unveiled an 8-point plan, okay? Just take us through what this 8-point plan is, and how different really is it, for example, if you make reference to what the National Development Plan speaks to, and to the key other plans that other political parties have.
Yeah, luckily with 8 points, we finish at 8 o'clock, but we'll do it from there.
Well,
no, let's start. Let's one or two of those issues. Number one, we surely think local government must be local. It sounds stupid, but it's very important. What lesson can we learn from the world? If you look at the world, all over, the trend is to get government as close as possible to the people, closer to the people. So government becoming smaller on local level, not bigger. In South Africa, we've got the opposite trend. One example, Switzerland is 8 million people, smaller than the Free State. The Free State got 19 municipalities. Switzerland got 2,700 in that area for 8 million people. We think it's a mistake, for making it bigger all the time. We had about 280 local governments. At the moment, it's going down to 213.
So you're saying streamline the municipalities and make them smaller?
We're convinced that, if you look at Switzerland, look at a lot of other countries, better service if you get closer to the people. In the end, it's very basic things like roads and water and that type of thing, and making it bigger. One example, in the Free State, there's some towns, 5 towns together in one local government, 160 kilometers from each other. So if you live in Rates, there's no municipal office there. You must travel to Paris, where the local 160 kilometers to solve your municipal bill. We think that's a mistake. I know the arguments on financial grounds, but we're convinced if you make it local, more smaller, it will be better.
If you say they think they're making a mistake and the arguments on financial grounds, how would you do it differently as a Freedom Front Plus?
Well, at the moment, they get a lot of money from government. So they're subsidized by government, actually. And surely, if you make it more local, and it's not that difficult. As I said, it's water, it's electricity, it's sewage. That can be handled locally. Now you must get 160 kilometers to my town to solve my problem. And I think it's easy as that in a sense, and surely we can do it.
So localizing local government. Okay. Issues of maladministration always come through when we look at reports being made in terms of like how municipalities have performed. It's a big challenge in most municipalities. How will the Freedom Front Plus tackle that?
Well, you can make a study of bad service delivery. And if you look at the Auditor General's reports, for example, he finds that about 42% of the people in financial administration is not qualified for the jobs. And 13% of the local managers, municipal managers, are not qualified for the jobs. So surely what we propose, for example, is a moratorium on if a position is vacant for more than 3 months, then surely put a moratorium on any quota or affirmative action application. Get the best lady or man or whoever you can get for the job, and just get the job done. And I think most people want the job to be done and not to wait for however, because one example, there's 43,000 posts vacant in water affairs. Surely that explains a lot of our problems, because they can't get the right people. Then we said, put a moratorium on, get the right people and get the job done.
But how do you think that issues of affirmative action will be sort of like addressed? And unemployment, mainly some would say for the majority of South Africans who have not had access to opportunities.
Sure. Well, as I said, fill the post. Get the best man, we're going for that. But if in 3 months you can't get somebody that is skilled enough to do the job, then we say a moratorium on affirmative action. And then it's open for everyone. Like it was a strange example. We had a letter
but
from...
how will then we readdress, the issues of the past? If that's, let's say we can't find people of color to be able to fill that position.
Well, then I said anybody. And I think that after 22 years, surely we can start moving away. 3 months, open, get the best guy, affirmative action. But then afterwards, don't leave the post open. As I said, 43,000 posts open in water affairs. Some municipalities got the loss of 50% because the infrastructure is so bad. So I think that's one way of moving away also after 22 years of affirmative action. I think we can start moving now to merit to learn.
What is the Freedom Front Plus position on dealing with issues of affirmative action, and how do you communicate that? Let's say for people who I feel the Freedom Front Plus, is a party for white South Africans, Afrikaners, and I can't relate to it, but I live in the farms, and then maybe I can actually benefit from voting for them because they're within the area. How do you convince me, if you want to move beyond the issues of color and race, which is something that we're facing a big challenge of as a country? And
the majority of our voters is not in the farms. The majority is in the cities. There's no way you can become a party in parliament and get representative there if you only go for the farms. We've got quite a few brown candidates that feel they're fighting for their community and it's important for them. And then surely, if you just address service delivery, people immediately say, do you have a solution for that? If you can get water to me, electricity, light, whatever, I'm fine. And in that sense, surely, in the end, hopefully, you can vote for us. If we do it that way and we succeed with local government and getting the right people in the job, I think people at that moment say, let's start moving away from waiting for positions that's vacant and don't do the job, get anybody then in there.
Okay. Now, another question that people always bring when they look at the Freedom Front Plus is that, you have 4 seats in parliament, you're contesting, let's say, in over 3,000 municipalities, including metros. But in terms of capacity, how do you think you can come in and contribute and deliver in a big way?
Yeah. Well, we're one of the biggest parties, bigger parties in parliament. If you look in parliament, we're bigger than COPE, we're bigger than the ACDP.
That's true.
And that's also a fact that you must take in cognizance. And we've been there since 94. There's only about 4 or 5 parties that survived, and we grew from 99. At every election, we grew. But what's fascinating of this election is that we'll have a lot of coalitions after this election.
Okay.
If you look at 2006, there was about 10 local governments where no party got more than 50%. In the second one, 2011, there was about 36 of them. We predict it will be double again with some metros, where no party will get 50%. Then surely, let's take Tshwane. The Freedom Front Plus is the 3rd largest party at the moment in Tshwane. So surely if there's a coalition, we'll be part of that. And that makes it a smaller party can play a very major role in making the kingmaker in that. Say the ANC get 48%. It does not mean that the DA or the Freedom Front will get 52%. They'll get 40% or 35%. And then you start putting together a coalition.
Are you likely to get into a collision, let's say, with the EFF or the ANC?
Well, the EFF is not my best friend at the moment. And if they change some of the policies, but at the moment, I think it will be very difficult the way they sort of act at the moment. But surely
there's... So is this an ideology thing?
Well, it's difficult in the end. Coalitions is very complicated. Let's take an example. In 2006, in Cape Town, no party has a majority. So the Freedom Front plus the ACDP plus the DA became together. We helped Mrs. Dillis to become the mayor, but we asked to become the speaker. And we became the speaker, and in that sense you can play a major role to put your policies into implementation.
Okay. Now, we're facing a lot of challenges as a country as we build up to the election around issues of race, okay? Some quarters would feel that, a party like the Freedom Front Plus, which has strong, position when it comes to affirmative action, but when it comes to issue of national identity like race could lead that conversation. For example, what's happening with the Sodwana Game Reserve, if you've heard the story. How do you think we should be tackling such issues as a country?
Well, it's unbelievable what happens there. I've never heard such nonsense as that. Parliament, up to about May more or less, did not say anything about racism. The Freedom Front Plus, personally, asked that we surely must have a debate on racism so that Parliament can give some leadership. So in the end, I asked for the debate. I convinced the Speaker for the debate. I was the first speaker on that to say, if you want nation building, if you want, in the end of the day, this is how you must address it. Because I really believe leaders give the example.
How do you think?
If leaders are racist, or they sort of, and we've got some of those at the moment in Parliament, then the message goes down that it's good to do that. In the Mandela's time, there was no such thing. As long as you reach out, you can reach out. And there's no tit for tat on other sides. So leaders must give the example and condemn people like this, what happened in Sodwana at the moment.
Okay. As a Freedom Front Plus, what's your position on that? Have you condemned it?
I've never, of course, yeah. It's unbelievable what that guy says, and he seems to believe it. But that's sort of religious, total extremism, and putting that on the table. The lucky part, and I know it sounds very slim, it's a small individual down there. Let's isolate them and get them out of the way. The problem comes when leaders start doing the same thing. Then your country is in trouble, and that must be fought at all times.
Okay. And I'm not saying that, you are an expert on this, but there's always a feeling from black South Africans to feel that a lot of white South Africans are not coming out strongly and condemning issues of race and really taking leadership and giving direction in that. And it can be contradictory in your case where Freedom Front Plus, don't support affirmative action, and then at the same time, they condemn that. It's like, okay, what do you mean? We don't understand. How should we be tackling this?
Well, surely, as I said, leaders must do that without any doubt. Look at our record. Look at what we did in the past. When somebody sort of destroyed was with Makado, the sort of statue up north.
Yes.
We were the first to say that's
Yeah.
And even the Tshwane statue, we said that's a big mistake. If you want to build nation building, you must respect other people's culture, but surely then you ask yourself. I think the one problem is we must not have double standards. When people say you condemn it to the one direction but not to the other one, then people react negatively towards that. But I was in cabinet, a deputy minister. Surely make a contribution in that sense, not becoming an ANC, but be Freedom Front Plus. Say I can make a contribution to make South Africa better, because if this ship sinks, it sinks with all of us, with my grandchildren. So in that sense, I play a role, make the country better. I don't have another passport. I'll always be here. There'll always be black people, always be white people. And we must get the recipe to work it out, and racism is not the recipe to do that.
Okay, I can't speak Afrikaans. Can I be a member of the Freedom Front Plus?
If you join, if you've got the principles, there's no way if you can join. And there are people that don't speak Afrikaans that are members here.
Okay, well, great stuff. Thanks very much for joining us, said Dr. Peter Murrell. And for more information, of course, on them, you can go to their website. It's vfplus.org.za. That's the Freedom Front Plus.
And they find everything there. The 8 plan that I didn't, there was no time until 8 o'clock to do, they'll find it there.
Okay, great stuff. Of course, we've been speaking to him this morning, and thanks for being part of that conversation.